Hello, church. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever it is to you. Thank you for letting me talk today. My name's Josh Turner, out here in Washington State. I got the big dumb doggy. How are you, friend? He's occupied. So, today I thought I would talk about dogs who have been abused. Okay? So, they're all over the country, all over the world. Dogs that get neglected, dogs that are put in fighting pits or just left alone all day, tied up outside, hit, whatever it is, right? So what happens is people will come to the facility I work at and they'll say, you know, I've rescued this dog. We don't know what happened to him before the shelter. He was probably abused. He was probably left alone. He's scared of noises. He's scared of this. Now, these humans, their heart is in the correct place. Like, they wanted to help this doggy, and they want to keep this dog from feeling the kind of pain that they believe the dog felt in its previous life before they met him, right? Here's part of the problem with this. Even if the dog's been put in a horrible situation, or they lived with abusers who neglected them or hit them or whatever it is, once they're out of the situation, if you continue to treat the dog as if he is in the situation still, he will continue to act that way. So if someone brings me a dog and says he's scared of loud noises, well, one of the things that I may do is get him around some loud noises and see what he does. Because one thing that doesn't help the dog is leaving him in a state of victim. Absolutely hard things happen to us, unjust things, things that we didn't deserve, that shouldn't have been done. It was done by evil people, or it was done when we were little. We couldn't fight, we couldn't tell anybody, and we hold on to these things. And for our whole life, what we'll say is something like, yeah, my name's Josh and I'm an alcoholic. Now, I've said that sentence a bunch in different settings. Or my name's Josh and I'm a drug addict. I've said that sentence a bunch too. But guess what? That sentence ain't true. I'm not a drug addict. I have been addicted to drugs. I'm not an alcoholic, but I have been in the past. If every day I walk around, I tell myself I'm an alcoholic, and I tell myself that I'm a drug addict, my brain doesn't know the difference between me just telling myself that and me actually being one. So, much like if I have a dog who's been abused, well, I'm not going to not give him rules just because the person before him was too harsh with the rules. I'm not going to shelter him from the leash just because the other owner used to choke him with the leash. No, the rules don't go away because you were a victim of someone who abused the rules. The rules are there. The difference is who your master is. If your master is no longer the abuser, then your story can change. But that's only if you allow it to change. If instead, for most of your life, you're a victim of one thing or another, well, you may stay that way until you move your brain out of victim status and just put it into the victimized. Okay? Victimized, this word is a past tense word, meaning it did happen, but it is not currently happening. I was abused. I was a drug addict. The dog was scared of the vacuum. The dog was scared of the leash. These are different ways of speaking. If instead, church, you find yourself saying my future is already predicted because I was a victim of A, B, or C, well, you may be correct. You may just end up being a victim for the rest of your life. Much like there's some dogs who will never get over the fear of the vacuum. Even though that was possibly a real fear when it first got instilled, there's no longer a reason to be scared of the vacuum. Just like there's no longer a reason to be a victim, unless that's something you feel like you need to hold on to. My king doesn't require you to be a victim of something to be a part of his kingdom. You being a victim of something does not make you more valuable or less valuable. Much like when a dog comes to our facility, whether he was abused or not, doesn't matter. That's what the test is for. The test that I do will determine if this dog can make it. And if he's been too abused, then maybe he won't be able to do it today. But what I can't do is say, well, I'm not going to give him the test because he was abused. Now, there's a verse in, I think it's in Leviticus. I don't know. Some of those books run together for me with all the rules. But there's a spot in the Bible where it talks about the basic premise of the verses is you do not distort justice on the count of somebody being poor or on the count of poverty. The reason for this, I believe, is because whether or not you were poor, the judgment would still be just. Your circumstances, whether you're rich or poor, doesn't matter. If you stole a car and you're rich, you stole a car. If you stole a car and you are poor, you still stole a car. Now, both people may have their reasons why they stole the car. You still stole a car. So just like many people may have reasons why they act a certain way or react a certain way, and that could be due to abuse, alcoholism, demons, it could be a number of things. But until you can move your head out of the space of I am a current victim and being victimized, and then you look for all those ways that you're victimized, until you can move out of that space, you will stay a victim. Once you move out of that space, all that happens is you get to say, I was a victim. I'm not anymore. And I have a story to tell because I was a victim. But you don't have to carry that with you forever. Like, just because I was an alcoholic does not mean anytime I see alcohol I have to panic. Just because I was a drug addict does not mean that when somebody around me is talking about drugs, I go into a frenzy. No. What it means instead is I cultivate where I go because I have these things in my past, right? So I don't go to the bar. I try not to go hang out in drug dens. I'm going to put that in my past. But I'm not going to go and tell somebody, hey, man, you really can't talk about that stuff around me because I had a rough past and I used to do drugs. Nope. This all happened in the past. Your brain deals with right now, unless you make it deal with the past. You can put yourself in the past, or you can put yourself in the future, or you can live right now. Right now. Let me show you. This guy right here. Absolute cold-blooded killer. Will kill something if it runs. Because he's done that before. But that's not who he is. He is not a killer. He is just able to kill. He's able to hunt, able to track things down. He is a dog. His name is Garm. He's kind of stupid. But what he's not is a victim of his circumstances. Because whatever those circumstances are, if you have the power, you should walk out of that. If your church is abusing you, leave. If your spouse is not treating you correctly, speak up. Otherwise, what happens is you'll get to the end or the middle, and you'll look around and say, I don't want to be a victim anymore. Well, you don't have to be. Stop treating yourself like a victim. Start treating yourself as if you are someone who somebody tried to victimize and they failed. They failed. That's why you're still here. That's why God's still working in you. If they would have succeeded in making you a victim, you'd be different. But instead, you're not. You made it out of that situation. You may have scars, but one thing you don't need to do, show everyone your scars. Not everyone needs to hear about your scars. Not because you shouldn't tell your story, but because your scars do not make you who you are. God made you who you were, and who you are, and who you will be. It's not what was happened to you, or what was done to you, or what could happen to you. What are we going to do today to not be a victim, to not be afraid? Just like this guy right here. What am I going to do today to keep him from falling back into the status of killer? Well, I set up fences, and I keep his brain occupied, and I do all these other things. But what I won't say is he's not allowed to come outside because he's killed things. No, he can come outside. I just have to set up some boundaries. Don't boil yourself down to what has happened to you. And don't boil yourself down to what you've done. You can change that today if you just start. Just remember, this big guy kills things. And he loves me and kisses me and plays with me and loves his family. Two things can be true at once. I love you all, church. Don't be a victim. Go in peace.